Nick, thank you for agreeing to talk to us today about innovation.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
So Nick, your role is a Chief Marketing Officer for Lenovo in the Asia Pacific region.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about maybe your background?
Well, I've been with Lenovo 9 years. I've done a lot of different jobs at Lenovo before I've been the Chief Marketing Officer. I was based in Singapore, where I ran their global marketing campaigns for all of their consumer products. The big one was called Yoga, and that's one of our great products today still. Before that, I was actually in China doing product development, ran the notebook and the tablet team for product development. And before that, before I joined Lenovo, I was with Apple. I ran Apple for retail here in Australia. Before that, I spent about another 8-9 years at Dell. Everything from data analytics through to marketing, sales, all sorts of stuff. Yeah, but it's been a fun journey so far. It's nice to be back here in Australia.
Nick, Lenovo is an amazing company, global multinational company.
Yep.
Number one in PCs, which some people might not realise, has been for quite some time. Also owns Motorola now,
Yeah.
and I believe they've acquired a data company as well.
Yeah, we've just bought IBM's System X server business.
So quite a variety of offerings, and obviously previously it's been focused B2B, and now in the last few years has been shifted into B2C market.
Mobile. So the mobile really is king in Asia. More people are on mobiles than any other device. So with the acquisition we made of Motorola, we've moved into the handset space.
Increasingly more of the top brands are coming from Asia. What do you think is driving that?
I think mainly Asia is where there's a huge amount of innovation. It's also become the factory of the world. We make hardware, gadgets, devices, and we're really good at that. So a lot of our supply chain, a lot of the componentry and the innovation in product itself is coming from that part of the world. I also see innovation coming through brands. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of emerging brands that are growing out of Asia Pacific.
Can you tell us what you think some of the Australian businesses could be doing better, thinking about the Asian market and taking advantage of the Asian century that we're in, the growing marketplace, but how could they actually engage better with Asia?
Aussies have a great opportunity because of just where we're located in Asia. We travel a lot and we love other cultures, food, drink. We socialise well with people. But I think Australians, like most Westerners in business, approach things quite transactionally. They go and try and do a deal, they travel for work, close the deal, win a new customer. In Asia, relationships are built over a long period of time. And I've had to learn, being based in Asia and living in China, that relationships take time to invest and build. They don't happen overnight. And you have to build guanxi or trust, and you've got to build a relationship in the office with customers or clients or partners, but also you need to spend time out of the office, because that's when people really trust you, when they meet your family, when they meet you in a restaurant, when you have too many drinks with them, you let your guard down. But it takes time and effort to do that. And I think Australians in business want to get on and move ahead. They get frustrated easily. In Asia, relationships are long term. They're not short term.
What are some of the trends from a screen perspective that are coming through?
More people spend time on their smartphone than any other device. They're certainly a mobile first region. So people in Asia Pacific, being mobile first, they're accessing all sorts of services, apps, software, and doing much more on their smartphone than anything else. And there's a very good reason for that. It's the first product they buy.
Yeah.
So for us, in an emerging market like India or Indonesia, today we're the number one when it comes to 4G handsets. Right. We're in the top 3 mobile smartphone vendors.
Yep.
And for us, that means we're growing our brand with that next generation of consumer that will then say, okay, I need to now have maybe a physical keyboard or a larger screen, or I need to relax and push back and have a larger device to watch and consume movies and content on. But it's the smartphone that's the first device people invest in Asia Pacific, without question.
Who's buying all these new, latest, greatest products?
We targeted to the millennial audience. We call them the design trendsetters. These are the people who are the cool, young leaders in technology, but also fashion and music and design.
Yeah, what's driving millennials to want to buy these new, great, disruptive technologies?
Pretty much, mate. They don't want to have the same brand of smartphone as their parents. They don't want to use Apple. They want to identify with a challenger brand, disruptive brand, something new that actually resonates with what they're doing. They want to be seen as individuals, so their technology needs to reflect that.
Innovation and continually evolving. Where does that come from, and what's the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, it's pretty simple philosophy, and we call it never stand still. It's kind of like the Japanese view of Kaizen, continuous improvement. So we celebrate for a nanosecond, and then we work out what we could do better. We spend a lot of time internally doing things called fupans. We reflect on how we won the chess game or how we were successful. But also, fupan is a Chinese word for replay the chess match. Okay. So we also look at, well, how did we lose? How did we not do as well as we thought? And we try to do better. And never stand still comes through in the innovation of the product, but also through the brand. We've got this attitude of always being on to the next thing, being an innovator. We want to be seen as a brand that pushes the envelope. And when you look at that Motorola smartphone and at that yoga book, I challenge to say we produce more innovation than maybe many other more household name tech brands.
Nick, a question I often ask a lot of senior executives is, how do they define innovation?
I would define it good ideas implemented well. I think innovation right now is a huge buzzword and probably one of the most overused words. But a good idea is one thing, but a good idea implemented well and executed is actually really powerful. And I do see companies, and Lenovo too has a lot of innovation, but unless you bring it to market, unless you improve the customer experience, whatever that is, it's just innovation for innovation's sake, and it's not useful, and it doesn't deliver a meaningful business result.
So what's your process to actually be innovative locally in Australia for Lenovo?
Locally here, it's interesting because Australians are a very innovative group of people, in my view. This business here in Australia, New Zealand, has been best practice. So we use best practice sharing internally really heavily to promote things that are successful. But we have to show they're a business result. Mm-hmm. One of the things we do encourage on the back of my Lenovo badge, it is innovation and taking risks. The company lets you be innovative, but it gives you rope to take risks, and you could hang yourself with that rope, or you could be successful. A good example is recently just simply onshoring service people. So when the phone rings and you're calling, you have a problem with your Lenovo machine, you need support, ring, ring, you get local level support, people will pay more for that. We know that. We've brought that in-house. Now we're rolling that out in all over Asia Pacific, in local markets, because there is many customers that want that. They'll pay for it. But, over many years, we had lost that as they had gone to large offshore call centres.
Where do you think the connection between marketing and product innovation, where do you think it fits, and can you give an example of that?
Yeah, I think marketing needs to be involved in that feedback loop, listening to the customer, the voice of the customer, we call it. We have hundreds of thousands of devices sold every month. So we have a feedback loop, surveys that are done online. We listen to the customer, we have net promoter scores. But what we do is we look into that data. We have analysis every month as a leadership team to see what's going wrong in the products, what they could be doing better. In the marketing team, we look at, well, what do people love and how do we build upon it? And that goes into a feedback loop with the product teams. Every quarter, we sit down and review what products are coming, and we're looking 3 years out. So we have a 3-year roadmap that marketing's talking about, defining what the customer need is. Additionally, apart from customers today, we look at those segments. Mm-hmm. So whether it's a business segment, we've defined called IT progressives, we know they influence 80% of the buying choices, but they only represent 20% of actual decision makers. Okay. So they're younger, they are up and coming in a company. Similar way in the consumer market, we've said these design trendsetters are defining the future trends. So we listen to those customer segments through customer surveys and doing analysis of focus groups and so on, things like that.
Retail distribution has changed significantly over the last few years. How is Lenovo addressing the change in how consumers actually buy products? And what are some of the innovations that you're bringing to market to actually really engage consumers in a different way?
Well, one of the things that we're spending lots of money on is digital and social, mm-hmm. because we know from a marketing perspective, the upper funnel, when you see our brand and you then are aware of us over time, you build a level of consideration, but actually most of the conversion happens at retail. So how do I link my investments in digital and social at retail is a big challenge for a lot of brands. And there's a lot of interactions now between our investments in digital and social and mapping that customer journey as they visit our website, as they look at our YouTube channels, as they visit Instagram, then maybe they're shopping on our website, they're cookied. We track this all the way through. So with digital and social, I've got a lot more data than I ever had to be able to trace that journey through to a purchase. But in retail, it's at the shop front and I don't own the shop front. How do I track that? So we're using new technology like beacon technology and things inside the store with the retailers and with big partners like Westfield now to map where do customers walk. When they're near our area in a store, they may get a pop-up ad, maybe they get offered a promotion. Push technology lets you do that with beacons and smartphones, but it also lets us look at a map of where people are walking and reconfigure the area in each retail store so we can maximize where the traffic moves and the volume of the traffic. What's the dwell time in a particular area? Well, that means in that part of the store we want to have our best halo, highest end products, because that represents the best of what we produce. So we can use lots of smart technology, but linking it all together is a challenge. Yeah, and it remains to be one actually.
You mentioned Westfield as maybe a partner. How do you see innovation evolving with a partnership model and actually taking advantage of strategic partnerships, joint ventures, those sorts of things?
Well, we are so close and we are a channel-first organisation. It's probably the key brands, the Harvey Normans, the JB Hi-Fis, Officeworks, working with them and looking at the customer journey, understanding their buyer better, and really working with them very closely in their marketing, in their execution. Ultimately, for me to be successful in those brands, I work on what would be the normal marketing, 80% of the business as usual. But we always like to try to do something new and say, let's try something 20% different and we'll hit upon these winners. Whether they're, dressing Ashton Kutcher up in mask and glasses and then him acting like a sales rep in JB Hi-Fi, showcasing our new product, capturing that on video and then slicing it up into being very amusing pieces of content. That went viral in marketing and globally on YouTube, and we had millions of views. Now, JB Hi-Fi found that it was a great win. There was a lot of buzz. We had hundreds of media articles. So it's just an idea of partnering with them and doing something new and, having a bit of fun at the same time.
You've spoken in the past about the importance of being customer-centric. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's just listening to the customer being authentic to them. If you haven't got a way to listen to what they're telling you through any feedbacks or looking at your net promoter score, looking at the feedback on the product or the shopping experience, then as a brand, I think you're going to die. It doesn't matter how good your products are anymore. It's the overall experience that the customer gets delivered. And that could be from the time they visit your website, they see an ad in a paper, they have an experience in a store, or they actually buy something, love it, and then go online and tell others about it. I think a marketing person's role is really look at that overall customer experience and that journey and make sure you're improving it in every way you can, in a holistic way. It's not easy, but that's the challenge for marketers today.
Nick, thank you so much for your time and your insights.
Pleasure. Thanks, it was fun.
Great.